Don't you love propaganda? Don't you love TV angles? I know I do, because the television camera can make a dog look like a stallion if you take it from the right distance at the right angle, do a little bit of editing, size down your field of vision, have props placed out there that will give the dog the appearance of the size of a horse. There's all kinds of tricks that you can play with cameras. ESPN does it all the time, especially during the Christmas holidays when they're showing basketball games. They pack all the people in together, and the cameras never come off of the concentrated audience, giving the appearance that the arena is full. We put on a basketball tournament one year at the sports arena in Los Angeles. Christmas tournament. And it was a 5-day tournament. Had teams from the HBCUs come in. It was a great tournament. Matter of fact, it was so good that on the championship game, ESPN came in and picked it up. Well, we didn't sell a hell of a lot of tickets, okay? And for the first 4 days, all the the tickets that you bought, signed seats, the place was really sparse. I mean, don't get me wrong, we had, I want to say maybe 1,000 people in the arena, and it holds closer to 9,000, maybe 1,000. So you can imagine how spread out it was. But on the last day, when ESPN rolled those cameras in there, that 1,000 people got loaded completely into all of the lower sections. So every time the cameras went to the crowd, there were enough people to completely fill those lower sections. So you would have thought that the place was packed. The game was it was a great game. I got to tell you, it was a great game. I still have my own. Excuse me. I still have my own video that I shot of the games. Those were some outstanding athletes, and they made some great shots. But anyway, back to the subject matter. Donald Trump came into Detroit, and all we saw over the weekend were this huge crowd jumping up and down and clapping during the initial portion of the pastor going to have his service and then introducing Trump. So people clapping, and the shots were tight. Notice that they were not wide shots. The shots were always tight. You saw Trump, you saw Omarosa walking back and forth, and a couple of the shots, not many, but a couple of them, it went down the line, and you saw Daryl Scott in one or two of them, and a couple of other people that were part of the Trump campaign. And then every so often they would pull back just a little, and you'd see a couple of white people that were in the audience. It was a white guy with glasses if you looked out towards the left side of the shot. And there was a white lady that was in there, and then there was a guy that was, I guess, a row behind Donald, another white guy, a row or so behind Donald Trump. Weren't many white people in that audience, and it weren't really supposed to be honest with you. It's a black church, see, black people. Okay, no problem. All right. It was reported, however, that there were a lot of people, obviously a bunch of protesters were outside, but besides the protesters, that were a lot of people that wanted to get in and were turned away. And I'm not talking about just the protesters who wanted to get in. That's why sometimes you gotta wait a day or so, because the dirt always gets out. And apparently that church was half empty. But you would never have known that based on the visual shots and footage that is continuing to be shown on shown by mainstream media on TV, cable, etc., etc., etc. Let's jump into this clip, which is going to have a woman who was there to document the thing and see what she has to say.
All right, folks, Donald Trump over the weekend went to a black church in Detroit, trolling for black votes. It was his attempt to reach out to African Americans. He was asked a variety of questions by the bishop there, Wayne T. Jackson, that were actually vetted. He gave the questions to the Trump camp before the interview even took place. Now, of course, Donald Trump has said a whole lot of stuff about black folks talking to white audiences. So this was really the first time he decided to go public with a lot of African Americans. So here's a bit of what he had to say.
I believe we need a civil rights agenda for our time. One that ensures the rights to a great education, so important, and the right to live in safety and in peace. I fully understand that the African American community has suffered from discrimination and that there are many wrongs that must still be made right. They will be made right. I want to make America prosperous for everyone.
Joining us via Skype from Detroit, photojournalist Montez Miller, who was there and photographed the visit. Montez, first and foremost, I saw a photo. That wasn't a packed church.
Well, what you have to understand about Great Faith Ministries, their congregation, unfortunately, is not full like our church here in Detroit, like a Triumph Church, where the pews are just full. They don't have a large following, so therefore.
So how large is the church?
I would say that your church might hold probably 1,000 people.
And how many folks were there on Saturday?
I would say it was half full. It wasn't even 500 people in there. It really looked empty. When I walked in, I'm going to have to be honest with you. When I walked in, I was like, wow, nobody's here. Because for some strange reason, I thought that the church would be a little bit fuller than it was. But the people who was there were members of the church, invited guests, and friends. But the people who really wanted to get in, who probably would have packed the church, couldn't get in.
What do you mean they couldn't get in?
Those are the protesters outside. Those are the ones. It was an invitation only.
So was it open to the public?
It was not open to the public.
So Donald Trump's tone was quite interesting because he sounded very soft in explaining things. He wasn't talking like that about black folks in front of largely white audiences.
No, when I walked into the church to photograph the moment, it was peaceful. I didn't feel any negative energy because of the people that was inside. Like I said before, were members of the church, friends, or invited guests. But on the outside, you had hundreds of protesters who didn't welcome Donald Trump's presence. When I heard that Donald Trump was coming to the church and that he wasn't going to speak to the congregation, in my heart, I said it was impossible for any candidate to come into a church, if given the opportunity to speak to a congregation, not speak to the congregation, especially when you are trying to get the black vote. As it relates to the tone that you heard from Mr. Trump, that was Trump number 2, because at any given day, we never know what Trump we're going to get, whether or not we're going to get this Trump or whether or not we're going to get that Trump. I'm not a supporter. I just have to come out and let you know. I was there to document the moment, but I am not a supporter. That undertone, it gives me the impression that there are two Donald Trump's.
Okay.
Let's make America great again, because we're going to do that. Listen to that undertone voice. That's the voice that you listen to, because at the end of the day, that's the real Donald Trump.
Okay, Montez, I'm sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, I forgot to mention there was 2 shots in there that had Katrina Pearson, and you saw a bunch of white guys that were on the pretty much left side of the screen. Those are Secret Service, so I don't count those guys.
Quickly go to our panel here. So, was anything achieved this weekend? I mean, he brought in Katrina Pearson, Omarosa, Pastor Darrell Scott. I mean, so he had all the black folks who've been walking around with him. Ralph, was anything achieved?
He spoke to a black audience in a black church.
He spoke to a hand-picked black audience at a black church.
So, I guess for people like you can like say, well, at least he did that.
No, I mean,
But this whole thing about him,
I don't hand out check marks.
At least he didn't go in there and become condescending and assume some sort of a black speech like Hillary does when she speaks before black audiences. Granted, he toned down himself, but that's what you do.
He said
you
that.
present yourself
wrote
in
the
a
speech. Do you really believe that? I honestly do not believe he wrote the speech, and particularly because he had to read the entire thing line by line.
Well, first of all, right, because normally, well, first of all, the New York Times did a report Friday before we spoke on Saturday that showed that, first of all, the bishop gave the campaign questions before they even asked them. In fact, that a whole bunch of black Republicans contributed. Look, campaigns do that where black staffers get involved with it. But for somebody who says, I hate teleprompters and I read off the cuff, boy, it was a whole different tone there.
That's why I question.
He's read a speech.
No, I understand that. I understand
when
that.
he speaks off the cuff, I believe that is when you see what Donald Trump actually believes when he says the black people, the African Americans are going to vote for me.
He got a few of his own.
Yeah.
But what was interesting to me is that she said that there were 2. I would say there was 1.5. And the half showed up for this event because, like you said, he was reading it and he was looking so he could say stuff right, because on his own he can't, not to black people. And it's just amazing what we do and that he's doing so well. I mean, even though he's not at the top of the polls, this bumbling man is doing very well.
Now, there was one person who was not there, and that was South Carolina Pastor Mark Burns. Now, over the weekend, CNN dropped a story by Victor Blackwell where they interviewed Pastor Burns and broke down issues with his bio. I think we have a portion of the interview. Watch this.
Do you attend North Greenville University?
I did attend North Greenville University.
Did you graduate from North Greenville University?
No, I didn't complete a degree at North Greenville University.
Okay. Again, the bio that's on your website claims that you earned a Bachelor of Science degree. Did you make that claim?
I asked you just a moment ago as we were just opening up this, and first of all, I said that we were off the record.
I didn't agree to that.
Yeah, but I did.
We're still rolling. I'm still asking you questions on the record. Did you make that claim that you graduated from North Greenville University?
This is not fair that this is not fair at all. This is not what I agreed to. I thought we were doing a profile, and all of a sudden you're here to try to destroy my character.
I'm not coming here to destroy your character. These are claims that were made on your website that was live while you were speaking at the Republican National Convention. My question is, are those claims accurate?
Well, also, he was asked during the interview, and on his website, he claimed that he was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. That's a lie.
I heard of him.
Said he got a Bachelor of Science degree from North Greenville University, as you saw in the interview. That's a lie. Claims he served 6 years in the Army Reserves. That's a lie. Also, that he currently attends Andersonville Theological Seminary. That's a lie. Okay, so here's the deal. I mean,
looks like his eyes are alive.
And then of course he then walks out of the interview. So he walks out of his own church, and first of all, it's not even really a church. It's a building with 6 chairs. So he's a televangelist, doesn't have to have a church. And then he got in his van, drove off. So
and left Victor Blackwell in his church.
Left him in his church.
Yeah.
But what's funny is what took him down The first line that took him down was lying about the Divine Nine.
Well, right.
Now, any black person knows you don't front on the Divine Nine.
First of all,
they're gonna come
we can check. We can check.
Right.
So
it's stupid.
But why would I mean, here's the thing. Why would the Trump campaign go to a fraud and have him speak at the Republican convention?
Okay, because they have nobody.
They don't have qualified people in certain positions that know how to properly vet someone before they put him in front of a microphone. This was the fault of the Trump campaign.
And again, the bottom line is here. And then he claimed in the interview he got hacked. Well, then he later released a statement owning up to it, apologizing, said, quote, as a young man starting my church in Greenville, South Carolina, I overstated several details of my biography because I was worried I wouldn't be taken seriously as a new pastor.
And then he said, but this is just happening to me because I'm a black person supporting Trump.
Right, he said it was wrong, but yeah, and matter of fact, and so I did text him and I said, bro, don't try to use a black line. You got busted. You got busted. I said, take the butt whipping and then move on. But don't try to say this only happened to me because I'm black, I support Trump.
Did he respond?
No, when you like, yeah, he responded.
And the
response was
a conservative Republican.
Response was, you right. All right, y'all, we come.
All right, y'all. Do you ever sitting down and having a grilled or roasted pork chop and it tastes pretty good, but somehow something's missing? Then later on, you head to your mother's house and she's got pork chops, on the table. But those pork chops are smothered in gravy. You put 2 of them pork chops on your plate with some rice, and you dig in. And you can't stop going at those pork chops, and you're trying to figure out why. And then it hits you. It's the gravy. Donald Trump's portion of this video, in my opinion, was the pork chop. But the Pastor Burns portion, for me, was the gravy.